there is no way the Democrats will maintain control in the House or Senate. There's just no way there won't be a red wave. Watching the Democrats' response to illegals being sent to Martha's Vineyard or Chicago or Washington, D.C. has been beyond epic. It's been priceless. David Patterson is a Democrat politician, used to be governor. Used to be the New York governor, and he visited with John Catsimatidis on his radio show here in New York City over the weekend. He was New York's only black governor. And he told John Catsimatidis that history is repeating itself. That the fact is, Republican governors sending buses and planes of illegals evokes memories of white liberals who opposed integration in the 1960s. Patterson said, it reminds me of some criticisms that were often made during the integration movement. They were progressives. He said they were liberals, but they didn't want anybody moving into their neighborhood. Someone else was going to have to live with the African Americans and the Hispanics who moved into those neighborhoods. You have history repeating itself 50 years later. Who are the real racists? Honest to goodness, you can't make this up that Martha's Vineyard shipped out the illegals 44 hours after they arrived. You couldn't put that in a script in a Hollywood movie. This is an actual headline at CNN.com. I'm not kidding you. Here's the CNN headline. They enriched us, quote unquote. Migrants' 44-hour visit leaves indelible mark on Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, 44 hours. What would have happened if they made it to 50 hours or 60? What if they would have lasted there a whole week? Oh my gosh, you'd have just pandemonium in the streets of Martha's Vineyard. 44 hours was their limit. Those tolerant, loving, open-minded progressives, they would only put up with the illegals for 44 hours in their community. If illegal immigration and law and order matters to the American people, we're going to get this election right in 50 short days. I'm in New York. It's a city in crisis. There's no question. I'm here for one day. That's it. It's all I can take. I get tired of my head being on a swivel, looking over my shoulder, wondering if I'm going to get slugged or shot from behind. You think I'm kidding? 2 men, including a tourist from Denmark, walking on Manhattan's Upper West Side, were shot whilst trying to stand up to muggers in separate incidents. The 31-year-old tourist from Denmark was accosted on 103rd Street and West End Avenue early Sunday morning by an armed man who demanded he turn over his cell phone. The victim refused. He tried to walk away. The guy shot him in the back. Miraculously, the tourist survived. He is recovering at Mount Sinai Morningside Hospital in stable condition. In another attack in the Bronx, 46-year-old man was approached by an armed man 11:40 p.m. Saturday night. Demanded his wallet. The victim refused. Gunman pulled out his gun and shot him. The crime that's happening in the streets of America is a direct result of the no cash bail policies of progressives. And I want to share with you a heartbreaking editorial by a guy who lost his little brother to violence in the streets of Chicago. Gianno Caldwell. You maybe see this young guy on Fox News. He wrote a column for the New York Post about the purge in the state of Illinois. Gianno Caldwell's column is posted in its entirety at mikeonline.com. I urge you to read it. He points out that the Purge movie series is about a premise that one night a year, Americans can commit any crime they want. I have memories of people saying things like this that go back so many years. Johnny Donovan was the legendary announcer on the Rush Limbaugh show, and he was a legendary disc jockey here in New York City. And I got to work with him for a couple of years when I worked at ABC. And Johnny Donovan, he was a very funny guy. He had this real dry wit, and I remember him saying this like it was yesterday. He said, you know what I would do if I were king of the world? There'd be a rule. Everybody could kill one person. One person, legally, and get away with it. He goes, do you realize that if everybody had immunity in killing one person, how nice we'd all be to each other? Because nobody would ever want to make you mad. Now, I'm thankful there isn't such a rule because I probably wouldn't be around much longer. I'd last 5 minutes. But the purge is the same kind of premise as the Johnny Donovan wishful rule of one kill a lifetime. Once a year, Americans could commit any crime they want. Not only do you get to let off steam, but it would cull the herd, get rid of the bad guys. Obviously, no one in their right mind would ever enact such a law. At least that's what we thought. But a purge-like law is about to take effect in the state of Illinois. On January 1st at midnight, a very real version of the purge will be enacted. It is so shocking and so shameful that every single American needs to know what the Safety Act law is going to do. Gianno Caldwell writes it, and I'm going to start this hour by asking you a simple question. Is there any doubt in your mind that we're going to win on November the 8th? I know how important law and order and crime is to Americans. I know how essential it is that we get our border security fixed. I know what Americans are saying about the illegal immigration crisis in America. And I'm sorry. I know we're going to win on November 8th, and we're going to win big. I don't care what the polls are saying right now. There's no way Americans can see the way the Democrats are handling the problem, the crisis of illegal immigration. There's no way Americans can see the way Democrats are mishandling the crisis in our American cities like Chicago, New York, all over the country, and not realize what the answer is. Because there is an answer. I'm heard on radio stations all over the country called The Answer. There's an answer on November the 8th. Vote Republican.